Fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. While most of you have heard of the United Nations, many people don't know exactly what it is or what it represents or how it came about. I'm here to briefly glance over what the United Nations is, where it came from, and how our politics in America actually reflect on what's going on in the United Nations right now. So it all started out back after World War I. There was something called the League of Nations made after the devastation and the destruction of the war. The League of Nations' goal was to prevent another world war from happening. Well, we all know this failed when the advent of war broke out again in World War II. One of the issues with the League of Nations was it had no backbone. It issued warnings to Nazi Germany when they started annexing different areas, different countries. It issued warnings to Japan when they invaded China. Nothing got accomplished. There was no backbone. After the atomic bomb was dropped, the entire world was in agreement that humankind could not survive another world war. So the United Nations was put in place of the League of Nations, who was its successor, so to speak. Although avoiding war is the primary purpose of the United Nations, it also involves itself in humanitarian and social problems as well. It provides the world's leaders a stage to discuss such international issues as human trafficking, genocide, food shortages, and diseases. While it successfully completed 55 peacekeeping missions, it has failed in many of the same ways as its predecessor. For instance, did you know that the UN was against the invasion of Iraq in 2003? Yes, the Bush administration went ahead and against the UN's will went to war because there were WMDs. In fact, the UN hasn't even sorted out if it was a legal war or not yet. The failure has many resemblances to what happened with the League of Nations in Nazi Germany and China. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a reason I use this example. I'm not anti-American. I use this example to illustrate that anyone can be wrong whether they perceive them as the good guys or the bad guys. The world needs to work together as a team by not forming cliques of the same thinking parties. This alienates other nations and starts to draw lines in the sand. These parties begin to act independently of what the majority wants and start to lose respect for others' viewpoints. If this sounds familiar, this is exactly what's happening in America right now with our politics. Have you noticed that today's major issues have drawn a line down the middle? Everything the major media networks have boiled things down to is either being on the right or the left side. There's no in between anymore. There's no more compromise in our country, so how can we expect other nations to compromise with us? The United States of America is arguably the last remaining superpower. Our system of governance is supposed to be the epitome of civilization. It's supposed to be a model of freedom and democracy that all nations should strive to be. But lately it seems like we are failing to lead by example. The world diplomacy is starting to crumble because its unofficial leader can't even govern itself. We truly want world peace, then America needs to wake up from our own political mess. When we get on the same page as a people and start to work together in America, and the world will start to move forward with us. We cannot continue to believe that drawing lines in the sand and offering ultimatums to each other will solve our issues. We need to put away our personal agendas and start to talk to one another again. There's no one right way to do anything, but there is a way we can make it work for the majority. If we can start to talk and agree more with one another again in this country, then maybe we can start to elect officials that will do the same. I'd like to leave you with a little quote right now from John Adams. "There's nothing which I dread so much as the division of the republic into two great parties, each reigned under its leader, and concerting measures in opposition of each other. This, in my humble apprehension, is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution." And again, that was from John Adams. George Washington himself also agreed with this, as well as many of our founding fathers. This two-party system is destroying this country. We need to figure out a way to work together so the world can follow us. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Matthew, 1 to 3.